Hello, this is KnightHunter Books, and today we're going to talk about The Book of Phoenix by Nnedi Okorafor, which we have both read in the past month, so we thought we'd do a discussion / review of it together. So I think we both really liked this book. I rated it 4 stars. Yeah, it's quite a short book, and I did get it through it quite fast.
Yeah, it's at a blistering pace.
Yeah, it's so much happens in this, and they move really fast through kind of the physical world and through plot and exploring ideas. So I'll give you a bit of background on it first. So the author has written 2 other novels and I think some novellas and short work as well. Her previous novel that made a bit of a splash was Lagoon. Before that she wrote Who Fears Death, which is actually the sequel to this book, set in the same world. We've only read this one, and it stands alone just fine.
So it is set in a near future science fictional universe, and a lot of the science fictional progress has come from these towers, these research institutions that have almost unlimited powers and certainly no oversight. And it's in one of these towers that the main character spends the first 2 years of her life, at the end of which she looks like a 40-year-old. She's an accelerated organism, she can read incredibly fast.
She has a few kind of superpowers, which they are studying to see how they can take advantage of them.
She learns more during the book about what they were trying to achieve with the experiments they performed on her.
This book starts off in America, but actually is partially set in Africa as well, in Ghana, and it's very strongly influenced by African folklore, and there's a lot of African characters as well. And in this book, a lot of the African folklore, which the main character reads while she's stuck up in her tower, actually a lot of it is true and is what's being exploited by the science. So there's quite a lot of parallels there to African people being exploited through colonialism and America's past, although this is set in the future. So it's another way of looking at those kinds of dark parts of history and the anger that it was felt and is felt still today with things like Black Lives Matter and that sort of thing. This feels like it could be a response to that.
And that ties into 2 interesting points. So a large part of the anger that you were talking about there comes from the sort of feeling around bodily autonomy, who gets to do things to your body and what that means, and what that means about society if they're willing to give other people control over your body. And
so that means science is in this not always portrayed as it's worth it in the end. It's very much a science, no matter what good it produces in the world, it should only be done with also considering ethics and
considering the individuals involved.
And consent.
Yeah, it is all about the increasing autonomy of a female protagonist. Interestingly, a black female protagonist who appears to be about 40.
I mean, I've seen accelerated ageing a few times, but they always seem to stop it kind of in late 20s, probably influenced by Hollywood because they want to get in the pretty actress. But I like the idea that they stopped
Justin Timberlake.
But they decided to stop at 40 because why not? You can do everything in society that you need to do at the age of 40. And a lot of her friends are as well. Their friendships with the protagonist are all quite healthy. I quite liked the way they always looked out for each other.
Here be spoilers. One thing that might be worth mentioning, I know some people find it really difficult when characters have abilities and don't use them intelligently. It's worth noting that time travel enters the book at one point, and that's very much driven by the plot.
Felt like it wasn't needed as a device. There weren't any problems that couldn't have been solved except with time travel.
The Book of Phoenix is the story in the middle of this book. It's actually bookended by about 10 pages back and forth.
Yeah, not much. Just from the point of view of someone in the far future in an apocalypse that has been created through the narrative that runs through the middle of the book. I think these ends of the book are what ties it into Who Fears Death. One thing we did quite like about it, actually, right at the beginning, was the Cave of Wonders, which he discovers, which is filled with computer servers and that sort of thing. It does definitely make me intrigued to read Who Fears Death, to see this kind of nice crossover of something in the far future but quite similar to our far past. So, what did you think about the ending?
It's a bit jarring, if I'm completely honest. I do wonder if it would have made more sense if you'd come at this after reading the Who Fears Death. It all gets a bit sort of postmodern.
Yeah. The ending is where it starts to feel a little bit more like a literary story, or so in some ways it's really interesting.
Superheroes, modern literary theory.
Yes.
Reliable narrator? She claims to have wings and be able to catch fire and come back to life, so probably?
We have no second point of view for that one.
But in some ways, her early life is taken from her, and at the end of the book, her story is taken from her as well, and the man who finds it turns it around, and we're told by a sort of an omniscient narrator voice that this man takes her story and turns it and twists it and turns it into something else. And in some ways that's quite sad.
Yeah.
Somebody who fought so hard to be free and tell their own story.
But maybe it's that we never get to tell our own story.
Yes, sort of death of the author applied to sort of biographies.
Yes, it's very unlikely that you'll be remembered exactly for what you want to be remembered for, or even remembered accurately when enough time has passed, as it has in this, that all your points of reference have changed. Okay, so that was our review. We both really liked it. Yep. So we'd be really interested in hearing if any of you guys have read it and what you thought of it, and maybe any similar recommendations as well, if you have any. Certainly for African science fiction, I feel like I've barely touched the surface and really like what I've found. Yep. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon.